Noah, I need you to be completely honest with me.
Always.
Have you ever, in your life, been lying in bed, phone in your hand, and had a full negotiation with yourself about whether to put it down?
Define negotiation.
Like, you presented terms. You made offers. Possibly there were, conditions?
Okay, yes. Last Tuesday, midnight, I had been scrolling for, I don't want to say how long.
Say it.
50 minutes. I put the phone on my chest and I said out loud, Noah, stop. You are an adult with goals.
And then?
And then I picked it back up within 11 seconds.
11 seconds?
I counted because I was also simultaneously disappointed in myself and still scrolling.
That is the most human thing I've heard this week. And I want you to know, I once decided I would stop eating chocolate at night. Very firm decision, very serious voice. What happened? I ate the chocolate, and then I Googled, is dark chocolate actually healthy? Because if the answer was yes, the decision technically still stood.
You outsourced the justification to the internet.
The internet said yes, by the way. Dark chocolate has antioxidants. The habit survived.
Science wins again. But seriously, if either of those stories sounds familiar, if you have ever told yourself to stop something and then done it anyway, and then felt genuinely confused about why you are like this, this episode is for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Enjoy English with Noah, the podcast where real English meets real life. I'm Mia.
And I'm Noah. And today's episode is a long one because today's topic deserves the space. We're talking about bad habits.
Why they feel so powerful. Why fighting them sometimes makes everything worse. Why the brain pushes back when we push too hard. And what actually helps. This is a B2 level English conversation. The language is natural and layered, but we keep it clear and explain everything as we go. And we are not going to say, just be stronger, or just have more willpower. Because honestly, if willpower alone worked, none of us would be having this conversation at midnight.
With the phone on our chest, counting the seconds. And at the end of today's episode, our upgraded word tour. 8 vocabulary words today. Every single one slowed down. All forms explained, noun, verb, adjective, adverb, and real sentences you can use straight away. Because there is a big difference between, I know this word, and I can actually use this word. Today's word tour is for that second feeling.
But first, a challenge. Write in the comments. Complete this sentence. I keep. For example, I keep checking my phone the moment I wake up, even though I always tell myself I won't. Or I keep saying one more episode, and then it's 3 a.m. and I've made poor decisions.
Very specific, very personal, very accurate.
Tell us yours. We read every single one. Now, let's talk about why bad habits feel so powerful. Okay, Noah, I want to start with something that I think completely changes how you see bad habits. Most people look at a bad habit and think, why can't I just stop? What is wrong with me? I know this is bad. Why do I keep doing it?
And they go straight to blaming themselves.
Exactly. But they skip a much more useful question, which is, why is this habit here in the first place?
Because most bad habits did not arrive randomly. They usually started because they were giving you something you needed.
Like what?
Comfort, distraction, escape, a tiny feeling of control when everything else feels out of control, relief from something uncomfortable. At some point, maybe a stressful season, maybe just a hard week. That habit helped.
Okay, that is slightly annoying to hear. Because now I cannot just be angry at my habit. Exactly. You have to get curious about it instead. And this is where the word underlying becomes really important. Every habit has an underlying reason, something hidden beneath the surface that is keeping it alive. Think of it like a plant. You see the leaves and the stem, but underneath, the roots are doing all the real work. The habit is the leaves. The underlying need is the roots. And if you only cut the leaves, but never look at the roots, it just grows back. Every time. So the first step is not willpower. The first step is curiosity. Ask, what is this habit doing for me? What does it give me that I haven't found another way to get? And this is so important for English learners specifically. Sometimes a learner avoids speaking English not because they are lazy, not because they don't care. The underlying reason is safety. Speaking out loud in a second language feels exposed. It feels risky. You might say something wrong and someone might notice. So the habit of staying quiet or switching back to your first language or deleting the English message before you send it, that is not laziness. That is protection. The habit is not the problem. The habit is a signal. Exactly. And if you never look at what it's signaling, it is very hard to change. Let's make this real. I'll describe my habit. You help me find the underlying reason. Okay, go. Every time I sit down to study English, I end up doing something else. Cleaning my desk, reorganizing my bookshelf, replying to messages from 2 weeks ago. Anything except studying. Excellent productive avoidance. I am world class at productive avoidance. Okay, so the habit is cleaning instead of studying. But what is the underlying reason? What happens right before you reach for the cleaning cloth? What do you feel? Honestly, I think I feel nervous that I'll sit down and not understand something. And if I clean the desk instead, I feel productive, without the risk of feeling stupid. There it is. The underlying reason is not laziness. It is fear of failure, dressed up as tidiness. My bookshelf has never been better organized.
My bookshelf has never been better organized. My English? Less so.
The cleanest desk, the most anxious student. And now, instead of hating the avoidance, you can be curious about it. What does fear of failure need? Probably some reassurance that making mistakes is okay, some proof that not understanding immediately is part of the process, not a sign that you cannot do it.
So the solution is not stop cleaning the desk. The solution is address the fear underneath.
Exactly. Get curious first. The habit will start to lose its grip. Okay, so the habit has an underlying reason. But let's zoom in even closer. What is happening in the seconds right before you do the habit? Because most people say, I don't know, it just happens.
Like the hand was already moving before the brain joined the meeting.
Yes! And this is actually the most important part, because there is always a moment before the habit. Always. A small pull, a small feeling. We just move so fast that we skip right past it. And that feeling, that pull right before the action, is called an urge.
Urge. Like a strong wanting?
Exactly. An urge is a strong feeling that pushes you towards something. But it is not the action yet. It is the feeling right before the action. The itch before the scratch.
So I feel the urge to check my phone, but I have not checked it yet.
Right. And at that moment, you actually have a choice. The problem is, most of the time, we don't catch it there. The urge rises and we act so fast that it becomes an impulse.
How is impulse different from urge?
Very different. The urge is the feeling, like a wave building inside you. The impulse is the fast action that happens before your brain has properly finished thinking with you. It's the wave breaking before you even noticed it was forming.
My phone has a completely separate nervous system. My brain says, wait, and my thumb says, already done, 3 apps open, no meeting was held, no vote was taken, action was taken.
The urge was still loading, and the impulse had already filed a full report.
With conclusions and recommendations.
But here's the important thing. The gap between the urge and the impulse, that tiny space, that is where change is actually possible. You cannot change the urge. The urge will come, but if you can learn to notice it before the impulse fires, you create a little space. And in that space, you get to choose.
And most people never learn to notice it because nobody teaches us to look for it.
Exactly. And this matters enormously for English learners. That moment right before you switch back to your first language, before you delete the voice note, before you close the English tab, there is an urge first. Usually it's discomfort, or tiredness, or that familiar pull towards something easier. If you can learn to notice that urge for just 1 second, you create the space where a different choice becomes possible. Let's act this out. I'm studying English. You narrate what's happening inside my head. Okay? You are reading an English article. You hit a sentence you don't understand.
I've read this 3 times. I still don't know what it means. The urge rises. A quiet pull toward closing the tab. Your hand moves toward the phone.
Wait, I feel that. I want to stop.
That is the urge. You noticed it. Now, what do?
I'll read the sentence one more time, slowly, and if I still don't understand, I'll look up just one word. Just one. And then I'll keep going.
That is the gap. You notice the urge. You didn't let it become an impulse, and you stayed on the path.
Because I noticed. That's literally all it took.
Just noticing. That small pause between feeling and acting, that is where everything changes. Okay, so some people hear all of this and they think, fine, I understand my habit. I understand the urge. Now I'm going to fight it hard. They say, absolutely not. Starting today, no exceptions. I am a completely new person. And then somehow, it gets worse. Which makes no sense, because that sounds like the right approach. It sounds right. Notice the problem, make a firm decision, be strict, have discipline. It sounds like exactly what you should do. But here is what happens. When you push against a habit with too much force, I will never do this again starting today. No exceptions. Total transformation. The brain can push back hard. Why?
Because dramatic, sudden change feels threatening. The brain doesn't love sudden. Sudden means danger. Sudden means something is wrong. And when the brain feels threatened, it creates resistance.
Resistance. The inner pushback.
Yes. Resistance is that feeling of, I do not want to do this. When change feels too strict, too heavy, too sudden. Think of it like 2 people pulling opposite ends of a rope. The harder you pull on your side, the harder it pulls back on the other.
So I say, no sugar ever again starting today. And my brain immediately becomes a very passionate lawyer for cake.
A fully prepared lawyer with slides and emotional testimony.
Your Honor, my client, the croissant, has been unfairly dismissed. We call to the stand antioxidants.
And the brain wins because resistance is very persuasive when you are tired or stressed. And remember, the habit was already meeting an underlying need. If you take it away forcefully, without giving the brain anything else, the underlying need is still there, getting louder, looking for something to fill the gap.
So the habit comes back stronger because you tried to rip it out instead of replacing it. Force without replacement creates a vacuum, and the habit rushes back to fill it.
And this happens constantly with English learning too. Someone decides, I must study for 2 hours every day. I must speak perfectly. I must never forget a word. I must correct every mistake immediately. And then English starts feeling like a punishment.
And the moment English feels like a punishment, the brain starts resisting it. Not because the person doesn't want to learn, because the pressure is too heavy. So being strict with yourself is not always the same as being disciplined. Discipline that creates resistance is not really discipline. It's just pressure with a different name. Okay, let's do the 3 versions. Too strict, too passive, and just right.
The habit. Scrolling on your phone for an hour before bed. You want to change it.
Too strict. That is it. No phone after 6 p.m. Phone goes in a different room. Locked in a box. I am a changed person starting tonight.
And how long does a new person last?
Until approximately 8:15 p.m., when I remember something I needed to check.
Then the resistance kicks in and the habit comes back stronger than before. Too passive.
I'll try to scroll less. Maybe. We'll see. No plan. Just vibes and good intentions.
The vibe-based approach. Success rate? Very low. Just right.
When I get into bed, I'll put the phone face down on the bedside table for the first 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I can check it if I want to. No drama, no new person, just 10 minutes face down.
Small enough that the brain doesn't panic, specific enough to actually do. No resistance. Because there is no war being declared. Just a polite suggestion to the phone.
A polite request, not a revolution.
The phone can handle a polite request. The phone cannot handle a revolution. So if fighting doesn't work and doing nothing doesn't work, what does work? Gradual change.
Gradual. Slow and step by step.
Yes. Not dramatic. Not everything changes on Monday. Small. Repeatable. Realistic. Gradual means you are not trying to jump from one end to the other in one big leap. You are building a new path. One small step at a time.
Think of a forest with no path. The first time you walk through, there are branches everywhere. The ground is uneven. It is slow and uncomfortable. But you walk it again the next day, and again. And slowly, the ground starts to smooth under your feet.
So the new habit is the new path. And the old habit is the old smooth path that has been walked 1,000 times. You're not trying to destroy the aid path. You're just building something the brain can choose instead.
A gentle staircase, not a cliff.
Exactly. One step at a time. It doesn't shout at you, it just offers a direction. And the other important thing about gradual change is that it removes the pressure of perfection. You don't need to do it perfectly every day. You just need to walk the path enough days that it starts to feel familiar.
And for English learners, this is everything. One sentence out loud does not feel impressive. One short voice note does not feel like real studying. One phrase you actually say out loud, it feels too small.
But those small things are the path. And every time you walk that path, even for 30 seconds, it gets a little more familiar, a little easier to find next time. So we're not asking for 2 hours. We're asking for one sentence, one moment, one small step onto the new path. And that is enough to keep the path alive.
Let's get practical. I'll give you a habit. We'll build a gradual replacement together.
Ready.
Every morning, the first thing I do is check my phone. Before I'm fully awake, before I've even sat up properly, phone. Straight away every morning, every day.
Okay. First, what is the underlying reason? What does the phone give you first thing in the morning?
Honestly, I think it's a way of feeling connected. The night feels long, and when I wake up, I want to know the world is still happening.
Good. So the need is connection, reassurance. We can work with that. So instead of no phone in the morning ever, which would cause resistance immediately, what if the first thing you did was take 3 deep breaths before you picked up the phone?
Just 3 breaths?
That's it. You still get the phone. You still get the connection. But you've added a tiny new moment before the old habit fires. A 3-second path that says, I am here first, then the phone.
And after a while, the 3 breaths start to become the thing that feels normal.
Exactly! You didn't destroy the old path. You just built a small new one right at the beginning of it. Gradual, quiet, and it works.
Okay, I want to go a little deeper here because I think there is something happening with habits that people don't talk about enough. Every time you make a promise to yourself and you keep it, even a tiny promise, something changes.
Your self-trust grows.
And every time you make a promise to yourself and you break it, something also changes.
Your self-trust drops. And self-trust is very quiet. You don't notice it disappearing, but after breaking enough promises to yourself, you start to doubt yourself before you even begin.
That voice that says, I want to start this new habit, but I probably won't keep it anyway.
That voice gets louder every time a promise is broken, and quieter every time one is kept.
So small habits are not just about changing a behavior. They're about proving something to yourself.
Every small promise you keep is a piece of evidence. Evidence that says, I said I would, and I did.
And I can feel that when it happens. There's a quiet sense of, okay, I'm someone who does this. It's not dramatic. It's just quiet and solid.
And that quiet, solid feeling slowly becomes part of how you see yourself. Not just what you are doing, but who you are.
So the habit stops being something you force yourself to do and starts being something you just are.
Yes. And that shift from discipline to identity is where real change begins to feel calm. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady.
Like the habit stopped being a punishment and started being part of your story.
Exactly. And for English learners, every time you speak even one sentence out loud in English, when it felt uncomfortable, you kept a promise. Every time you stayed in English, when switching back felt easier, you kept a promise. And those promises are slowly, quietly building the identity of someone who speaks English.
Not someone who is trying to speak English. Someone who does.
Okay, I want to be completely honest now. Even when we understand all of this, even when we go gradual, even when we're kind to ourselves, even when we are doing well, sometimes we slip. We go back, and that is the part that feels the worst.
Yes, and I think this might be the most important part of the whole conversation. Because the slip is almost guaranteed.
It is. And when it happens, when you scroll again after 5 good days, when you miss English practice for a week, when you watch 4 episodes and told yourself it was going to be 1, that is called a relapse.
Relapse. Is that a big word for everyday habits?
It can sound heavy, yes, but relapse simply means returning to an old habit after making progress. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You were on the new path, and your foot found the old one again.
And that moment feels terrible because the brain is very good at turning one slip into a complete catastrophe.
I ruined it. I broke the streak. There is no point continuing. I might as well go back to the old habit completely.
I already ate one biscuit, so I might as well eat the entire kitchen logic.
The entire kitchen, every time. And the problem is, that thought turns a small relapse into a much bigger one. One missed day becomes a week. One late night becomes a new pattern.
So the slip isn't the real problem. The response after the slip is.
And the response most people give themselves is shame. I'm so weak. I always do this. I will never change. I knew I couldn't do it.
And shame. Mia, say that again slowly.
Shame keeps the habit alive.
Say more.
Say more.
Because when you feel terrible after a relapse, what do you want? Comfort. Escape. Something to make that feeling go away, which is exactly what the habit was offering in the first place. So the shame sends you straight back to the thing you're ashamed of.
That is deeply uncomfortable and completely true.
Which is why the response after a relapse matters more than the relapse itself. And the response that actually helps is not shame. It is compassion.
Compassion. For yourself.
Compassion means kindness and understanding towards someone who is struggling, including the struggling version of you.
And you mean real compassion. Not, it's fine, do whatever you want. Not lowering your standards.
No, not lowering your standards, but okay, you slipped. That happens. What do you need right now? And how do you start again?
A coach, not a whip.
A whip creates fear. A whip makes you smaller. A whip does not produce better performance. It produces avoidance. A coach looks at what happened, helps you understand it, and says, okay, let's go again.
And most people speak to themselves after a relapse in a way they would never speak to a friend.
They are brutal. They say things that a good coach would never say. Things that would horrify them if they heard someone say it to a person they loved.
So try this. Next time you relapse, ask yourself, what would I say to a good friend who told me they slipped today?
You would probably say, that's okay. You've been doing really well. One slip doesn't undo everything. What do you need right now? How can you get back on track? Gently.
Say that to yourself. The same words, the same tone.
And for English learners, missing a week of practice does not erase the progress. Forgetting a word does not mean you are bad at English. Making a grammar mistake in a real conversation does not mean you should stop speaking.
A relapse is not your identity. It is a moment. You stepped back onto the old path for a second. The new path is still there. You just turn around.
And you are allowed to be gentle about the turning around. That is not weakness. That is how people actually change.
Two versions. Same relapse. Shame response, then compassion response.
I had been practicing English every single day for 3 weeks. And then I had a really hard week. I missed 6 days. I feel like I've ruined everything.
Shame response. Typical. You always do this. You start something and then fall apart. 3 weeks means nothing now. Why do you even bother trying?
That is extremely unkind.
And most people say it to themselves without even realizing. Compassion response. You had a really hard week. That's real, and it makes complete sense. You didn't ruin anything. You paused. 3 weeks of daily practice doesn't disappear in 6 days. The path is still there. Come back today. 1 sentence. That's all. Just one.
That is compassion. And that is what actually gets you back on the path.
Because it doesn't make you smaller. It makes you steadier.
Okay. I want to end the main conversation with something that I think ties everything together. We've talked about underlying reasons, about urges and impulses, about resistance and gradual change, about relapse and compassion. And underneath all of it, there is one thing that makes everything easier. Identity.
Identity. Who you believe you are.
Yes. Because ultimately, the habits that stick are the ones that become part of who you are. Not what you do. Who you are.
There's a big difference between I am trying to stop scrolling at night and I am someone who values sleep and protects their morning.
The first one is a behavior you're fighting. The second one is an identity you're living.
And identity-based habits don't need as much willpower because they're not coming from a rule. They're coming from a sense of who I am.
And every small habit you keep is a vote for the identity you're building. It's not just a tick on a calendar, it's evidence. Evidence that says, I am this kind of person.
And for English learners, every sentence you say out loud in English, when it felt uncomfortable, that is a vote for the identity of, I am someone who speaks English. Not someone who wants to. Someone who does.
And one day, without drama, without a big announcement, you'll notice that the thing you were fighting quietly became just part of you.
And it started with something so small, you almost felt embarrassed to say it out loud.
Which is exactly why it worked.
Final scene. 6 months later, the habit became identity.
You started with one sentence of English every morning while your coffee brewed. That was it. One sentence. How does it feel now, 6 months later?
Honestly, I don't really think of it as a habit anymore. It's just what I do in the morning. Like making the coffee itself. I don't decide to speak English. I just do.
Because it stopped being a rule and became part of who you are.
And it started with one sentence. While the coffee brewed. On a completely unremarkable Tuesday.
That Tuesday mattered.
Okay, let's bring everything together. Because today was a big one.
It really was. And the main truth underneath all of it is this. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are human. And humans have habits for very human reasons.
Bad habits have underlying reasons. Something they were giving you that you still need. So get curious, not angry.
Before every habit, there is an urge. Learn to notice it. Because in that tiny gap before the impulse fires, you have a choice.
If you try to force change too hard, the brain creates resistance. Go gradual. Build the new path step by step. Don't destroy the old one. Just offer a better one.
When you relapse, and you will, compassion is what gets you back. Not shame. A coach, not a whip.
And every small habit you keep is a vote for the identity you are building. Not just what you do, who you are.
Change doesn't happen because you hated yourself enough. It happens because you understood yourself enough to be gentle, gradual, and consistent.
Noah, 11 seconds. But he tried, and he's still trying, and that counts.
It really does. Don't forget, write in the comments, I keep, complete the sentence. We want to read every one.
And now, our upgraded word tour. 8 words today. Every form, every use, real sentences you can use starting today. Our first word is underlying. This word helps us talk about something hidden beneath the surface.
If something is underlying, it is not immediately visible, but it is still doing all the real work.
Say it slowly. Underlying. Underlying. Underlying is an adjective. It always goes before a noun. An underlying reason. An underlying problem. An underlying fear. An underlying need. Can I say, the reason is underlying me?
No, please don't. The reason is not hiding under your chair. Say, there is an underlying reason. Or, I need to understand the underlying problem.
For English learners, the underlying reason I avoid speaking English is fear of making mistakes.
Very natural, very honest, and much more thoughtful than, I don't know why I keep doing this.
Why do you think you keep avoiding English practice?
I think there is an underlying fear. Speaking out loud feels risky. I'm afraid of sounding wrong.
So instead of, I don't know why I keep doing this, say, maybe there is an underlying reason. Our second word is urge. The feeling right before the action. An urge is a strong feeling that pushes you towards something. It is not the action. It is the feeling just before the action.
Say it slowly. Urge. Urge.
We say feel an urge, have an urge, fight an urge, resist an urge. We do not say do an urge.
Natural sentences. I felt an urge to check my phone. I had a strong urge to give up. I resisted the urge to switch languages.
Can urge also be a verb?
Yes, but different meaning. As a verb, urge means to strongly encourage someone else to do something. My teacher urged me to keep practicing. But in today's habit conversation, the noun is the one you need.
Did you study last night?
I felt a strong urge to close the app and watch TV, but I noticed it. And I kept going for 5 more minutes.
So instead of I suddenly wanted to stop, say I felt an urge to stop. Our third word is impulse. Very close to urge, but importantly different. Urge is the feeling building inside. Impulse is the fast action that happens before your brain has fully thought it through. Say it slowly. Impulse. Impulse.
Natural sentences.
I opened the app on impulse. I acted on impulse. It was an impulse decision. The adjective is impulsive. That was an impulsive decision. I can be impulsive when I'm tired. And the adverb is impulsively. I impulsively closed the tab. She impulsively deleted the voice note.
That last one is the biography of every English learner who has ever recorded a voice message. The impulsive delete, we know it well. Full pattern. I did it on impulse. That was impulsive. I did it impulsively.
Why did you delete your English voice note?
I deleted it on impulse. I felt nervous and my finger moved before I even thought about it.
So instead of I did it without thinking, say I acted on impulse.
Our fourth word is resistance. The brain's pushback when change feels too sudden or too heavy. Resistance is the inner feeling of, I do not want to do this, especially when a rule feels too strict.
Say it slowly. Resistance. Resistance.
The verb is resist. I tried to resist the urge. I resisted checking my phone for 10 minutes.
The adjective is resistant. My brain is resistant to sudden change. She became resistant to English when it felt like pressure.
And the noun, resistance. A strict plan creates resistance. I felt a lot of resistance when I tried to change everything at once.
And remember, resistance does not always mean you are lazy. Sometimes it means the plan is too heavy.
I stopped studying after 3 days. I don't know why.
Maybe the plan created resistance. If you tried to change too much at once, the brain pushes back. What if you made it smaller?
So instead of, I couldn't do it, say, I felt resistance because the plan was too heavy. Our fifth word is gradual. The word for real, lasting change.
Gradual means slow and step by step. Not sudden, not dramatic, not all at once.
Say it slowly. Gradual.
Gradual. The adjective is gradual. A gradual change. Gradual progress. Take a gradual approach. The adverb is gradually. My English improved gradually.
I gradually stopped reaching for my phone.
The habit gradually became part of my routine. For English learners, gradual progress is how English actually works. Not one magical day, not one perfect session. Gradually, step by step.
Can I say, I'm not improving? Instead say, my progress is gradual. That sounds patient. And patience is everything in language learning.
Is your confidence in English getting better?
Yes, but gradually. I notice small improvements every week. When I look back over 3 months, the difference is real.
So instead of, I'm improving slowly, say, my progress is gradual, or I'm improving gradually.
Our sixth word is relapse, returning to an old habit after making progress.
Say it slowly. Relapse. Relapse.
Relapse can be a noun or a verb. As a noun, I had a relapse. A relapse is not the end.
As a verb, I relapsed into my old habit. She relapsed after a stressful week. For English learners, I relapsed into avoiding speaking for a few weeks. After a relapse, I started again with one small sentence. And remember, a relapse is not failure. It is a moment. You stepped back onto the old path. The new path is still there. You just turn around. I missed 2 weeks of English practice. I feel terrible. That sounds like a relapse, not a failure. What's one small thing you can do today to get back on the path?
So instead of, I failed, say, I had a relapse, and I'm starting again. Our seventh word, compassion. The most important word in today's episode. Compassion means kindness and understanding towards someone who is struggling, including yourself. Say it slowly. Compassion. Compassion. The noun is compassion. Show compassion. She responded with compassion. Self-compassion helped me start again. The adjective is compassionate. Be compassionate with yourself. He gave a compassionate response. The adverb is compassionately. Try to respond to yourself compassionately. She spoke compassionately about her mistakes. And compassion is not an excuse. It is not, I don't need to improve. It is, I made a mistake, and I can still continue. A coach, not a whip.
I made so many grammar mistakes today. I feel embarrassed.
Show yourself some compassion. Every mistake means you were trying. That is worth more than staying silent and making no mistakes at all.
So instead of, I am terrible at English, say,
I am learning, and I can respond to myself compassionately.
And our final word today, identity. Who you believe you are.
Identity is the collection of beliefs, qualities, characteristics that make you, you.
Say it slowly. Identity. Identity.
As a noun, your identity shapes your habits. I want to build a new identity around this habit.
The adjective is identity-based, a useful compound. Identity-based habits last longer. This is an identity-based approach to change.
And identify is a related verb. I identify as someone who practices English every day. That sentence is powerful. It is not a goal. It is a declaration of identity.
And every small habit you keep is evidence for that identity. Not a tick on a calendar, a vote for who you are.
I've been practicing English every morning for 2 months now.
That is not just a habit anymore. That is part of your identity. You are someone who practices English every morning.
So instead of, I am trying to build a habit, say, this is becoming part of my identity.
And those are our 8 words for today. Underlying. Urge. Impulse. Resistance. Gradual. Relapse. Compassion. Identity.
8 words. 1 truth. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are building. Slowly, gently, consistently. And every day you try, even imperfectly, is a day your identity gets stronger. Even on the days when you count the 11 seconds.
Especially on those days. Tell us in the comments. I keep. We want to read yours. And tell us which word from today you will use first.
If today's episode helped you, please subscribe to Enjoy English with Noah. Share this episode with one person who needs it. That is the best thing you can do for us.
Take care of your English.
And take care of your heart.
This is Mia.
And this is Noah.
You've been listening to Enjoy English with Noah. See you in the next one.